4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see who is right on their bets. Place your bets.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk
What
about
are we
game
expecting?
exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're
Exclusivity,
part of our
straight
portfolio,
up.
how that
Okay.
might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware, too, and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So
Unforeseen?
Let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question.
Wow,
Because
okay.
I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us.
Okay, so I guess.
So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles.
Okay.
Not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox.
Yeah,
And
what he's
health
saying
of
was basically
Xbox
everything I
means
said at the
growing
start of today's stream.
platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. This is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Okay.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
What
Okay.
was the
That's
criteria
surprising.
and how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the.
So if it's not Starfield or
specific
Indiana
games that we're
Jones, which
talking
is the
about
2 I
right
kind of
now.
thought would have been the safe bets
The-
here,
the
what else could it be?
fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console, PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see
I'd
big
have to
games
disagree with
landing on
that,
multiple
but
platforms,
that's
and
because
we want to be a great
the
platform
the
for
platform has
creators
always
that are
worked
trying to
when
realize that potential. So now
exclusivity
back to
does
the
have something in
specifics of the
mind.
question on these 4
Finite
4
in
specific
creativity
titles.
is usually the issue.
We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for
I think one of them will be
for
Killer
players.
Instinct. Has to be. I feel like one of them has to
I'd
be
say
Killer
2 of the
Instinct.
other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes
I
around
think
that.
that would be Killer Instinct.
But
That sounds like Killer
games that our
Instinct.
teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios.
And I think the other one might be
regardless of
Hi-Fi
size.
Rush.
And as they've realized their full potential,
I
on
think
Xbox and
they
PC, we
that
see
sounds like the
opportunity
2
to
games I would
utilize
probably
the
go.
other platforms
The
as a
big 2
place
is
to
the
just
ones that I'm not sure of.
drive more business
Unless Killer
out
Instinct
of
is one of those
games,
community-driven
allowing
games.
us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on
I'm
other
sure I said this
platforms
exact
to
same
get them
thing.
more interested in Xbox.
I said
think
this
there's a
exact
good
same
brand
thing.
value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
So when you are thinking
So,
about the future,
this
and
is
this
a
concept of
test.
live service games, games that can benefit from bigger
This
audiences,
is a test.
new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how.
I mean, he
we
did
think
say
about
it's a test,
exclusivity.
but
We just
damn,
came out
man,
of
like, I
Developer
didn't
Direct,
realize
which
how
was an
much of a
awesome
test it was
show,
actually going to be.
where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years.
I feel like
And we
that last one
continue.
should be their main
Our
one when
focus is
everybody
on
plays, we
how
all
do we
win.
continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that? Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
You can't have the world's
And
best
knowing that,
creators
how do we
without
think
being
about our
exclusive to the
first-party
world's best
games
creators.
and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on
It's how
what
you build
Phil just said,
competition
one
with,
thing I
like,
would
universities,
add,
like,
when you were
having
talking about
your-
growth,
Yeah.
it's just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years, where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day one.
Okay.
And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox.
Okay,
there's
so
sort
they're
of
doubling down on
starting
the Game
points
Pass
for
thing,
us.
which is what
As
ended
Phil
up coming
mentioned,
to be
there are games today
the
that
end
you
of
can
what
play
conversation
that
we had on
only
that
can
stream.
be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the two key things are cross-play and cross-save.
Okay.
Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts.
So any
So
third-party
not all of our
titles,
games today
so
aren't
like
necessarily
Fortnite.
built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch-up to do as we get there. But that
Oh, God.
cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing. And I
Yep.
think is something
Yep.
that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to
The
announce,
first-party
with
games,
the
yes.
coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited to share today.
Okay.
And it's all part of our commitment to make the Xbox experience and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing.
What
we
if they
come back to
already
the
have
point-
the game
Phil,
on
you
another
mentioned at the
platform
top
and
this
then
isn't
cross-save
really
over?
a
Can you do that?
change in
That would
strategy
make
for
the
us.
most
Can
sense.
you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah, and I thought.
So now it comes down to
both
Game
Matt
Pass
and
versus
Sarah did
trade-ins.
a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play.
At
with
least
your
I don't have to
friends wherever they are,
repurchase
but
Halo.
to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But
not everyone has
this
like a PC
view
infrastructure. Not
that
everyone's able to
people are
build
going to
something
play
like that.
Xbox in multiple.
Eventually
places.
they will, but not now.
Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success.
That would be great if that's encouraged
And
as
my
part of the
understanding, just
platform.
from listening and
without
learning from you
dealing
three
with the
over the
whole,
past few weeks, just
layoffs
understanding
with
what's
the
happening with
QA.
Xbox, is that we see trends.
Because
with
then
player
it only
behavior
benefits
where
that the best benefit
people
you can
are
have is like
playing on
be a
multiple
mid-level
devices.
creator.
That is the reality, and we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games.
So
that
they're
millions
building a
and
monopoly
millions of
on
people can
monopoly.
love, and that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in our Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years, and I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has
So
on
they're
Xbox
not
is
getting rid of
hardware
their
that
console.
your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming, and in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of
Buying Activision, that was the main
Yeah,
thing.
it's such a good question. And I
They couldn't
think
get to
it's-
this point until they bought
As people
Activision.
who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want
Oh, they are
players
talking about the
who
layoffs.
believe that they
That's
will find
surprising.
the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players and adding those to the base of players that already play? Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to
It
come.
definitely sounds like
Matt, earlier
this.
you
I
were
don't think I was
talking
coming
about
out with
these
some
growing
weird
gaming
hot take.
communities, how they're incredibly large, and
All I'm seeing is that I was right.
On such a different level when we think about console.
That's all I'm getting
audiences.
here
You
is
mentioned
vindication.
Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is
So
supporting
they're trying to be the
growth of gaming
responsible
communities. How has that
adults
actually
in
shown up for
the
players?
room,
Other games
despite
you can speak
being
to
what
from
is
our
considered
portfolio?
the
Well,
youngest
as Phil
out of
mentioned,
the
I mean, two of the
big
biggest ones
three.
for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft. I mean, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you
That first
invested?
bit was
Where's that
issue
library?
wide,
I
so the
think
second bit was not
those
what I
two
thought.
things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose
Absolutely.
to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that
You
together.
need to
that
widen your
brings together
first-party,
friends, your
like,
progression,
set
your
of
achievements,
stuff.
all of that. And I think that's really what is
That's the
contributing
main
to
thing
the
here.
momentum behind some of these
That
communities.
it's
Yeah,
fine and dandy,
absolutely. I
but
mean,
you
when
need to
look
build
at
on new
just
IP.
Step back and you look at the history of the industry. We've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like crossplay, cross progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Power World. You know, Power World was able to launch, they were a game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam.
I'm surprised people
So
are
the
talking about
combination
Power
of those
already.
things, you know, Pocket
It's like
Pair
we're
was able
gonna
to have this
talk
outsized
about the
success,
Pokemon
and it was the largest
the Pokemon
third-party
wannabe
Game
straight
Pass
away.
launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview, we have the consoles.
It feels
we
more
have
like
our
they don't want to get
experience
rid of
on PC,
retail.
and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware,
don't
it
really
really is,
wanna-
and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation.
I don't know.
Which
That's
makes
what
it
this
better
is.
for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
Like the only way you
And
can
then
do
when
that is
we're
only
talking
by
about hardware,
waiting
there's
10
these
years.
other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around
On
game
licensing, game
One
preservation.
of the highlights for me of being in this position.
This
was
is- this
getting
is a
the Seattle
direct
State
thing with
announced
PlayStation.
back-compat coming to Xbox One, like it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. Slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play, is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look
I hope
at
this never
future
goes
hardware
away.
generations and what
But
we're
they need to
gonna
be winning
support,
for other people to do
making
that.
sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility.
I don't know if that's a good thing or
Can we
not.
go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play
this
your
actually
games in
hurts
your
my heart. This
library
feels
anywhere you want
cringe.
because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing
Like,
somewhere where
I
you're
get it,
investing
but
and you know you get to take the
it
games
feels more
forward
like
with
repeating
you
what
and
what
across
we
all
already
of the
know.
screens where you are. And I think most
And I don't feel like I'm
importantly,
getting much of an identity
Xbox is
on
a
it.
place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere. that
I
is
mean, to be fair, they are
dedicated
talking
to
about it from a
making
business standpoint.
games more successful and creators more successful, so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel that.
How
as
would
part
I
of first
conduct an
party with
interview
the
like this? I know
platform
this is
proximity.
not
You know, it's,
curated.
kind of
This is
amazing
like
now to look out across
very,
all the
very
studios we've got
curated, obviously.
and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Is this done? Are we done? Oh wow, okay. That was actually a lot shorter than I was starting we were gonna be. So yeah, okay. Okay. First things first, I was right. But secondly, more importantly, they didn't show any of the games. They didn't tell us any of the games that they're gonna have it on. And I think the idea of what they mean by Xbox, what does Xbox mean, is a bit of a cringe fest to listen to. So, not as it's a bad thing to explain. I think explaining it wasn't the bad thing. I think, I believe that, especially with people trying to look out for this one, especially if you're talking to the players, I think there needs to be more things for the player to understand as opposed to just the business aspect. I'm glad that it's not the entire library of Xbox exclusives, but they could very easily turn that around as well, where they can be like, oh, emergency, we're losing X, Y, and Z. Here's what's happening. Whenever I think about platforms and things that I have affinity to, right? I think about quality and how easy it is to maintain said quality. For example, if I use an Android versus an iPhone, if we use the two as our analogies, right? The more accessibility should not be your quality point. That should be standard. Having the highest amount of quality should be standard for accessibility. Everything outside of that is what usually determines whether I get one, a or B situation, whether I get a Samsung, an Android phone, or a iPhone style thing. And the way I'm looking at this is that they're going towards, we're going to be super accessible, which is fine. I have no problems with the super accessible aspect. But being super accessible can be done by any of the other companies as well. If you're the first ones to do it, that's fine, but you got to make sure everything else is good too. You got to find reasons to find exclusivity, even if it's in the most minute areas. It's why smartphone is such a hard place to win in, because every incremental difference is only gonna, it's gonna last you 5 to 6 or even 7 years, even 10 years to a certain degree, if it's done right. And that's usually the reason why a person might stick with a platform. There's no reason to upgrade otherwise. So technically speaking, a console should last longer than 10 years by technicality, because everything accessibility wise, in my opinion, should and would continue for a long time. So backwards compatibility is great because none of the other ones are doing it, but should not be your only crux to why you should be winning. Otherwise, it just means you used to be good. You should be good now. You should be good in 5 years' time and 10 years' time. And this is why it feels like that the exclusivity stuff, the 4 games that they're going to teleport to other areas, is in my opinion, a take. Like, there needs to be more that's happening here. I personally feel that Game Pass is great as a service, but not a way of building upon. Game Pass's library works really well when it has creators working on a platform. Remember, Netflix works really well when we get to hear about a cool series that is coming onto Netflix, if we're using that as our analogy. So effectively, exclusives is your main thing. It's actually, even surprisingly, you might be surprised by this, exclusivity still plays a bloody role. But it being on other platforms is not a bad thing at all. It just means that that should be your sign of quality, of saying these games are so good, we're willing to sell it on the other platforms, and that we're willing to put in new quality stuff there. So I'm hoping that the games that the game developers showcase, like, if I had to pick what the 4 games might end up becoming, they've said it's not Starfield, so we have to strike that out straight away. And what was the other one? The Indiana Jones game. They said it's not that one. So I guess here's my take. If it was me, if I was Xbox, I would probably say Hi-Fi Rush is one of them, because it was a shadow dropped game, but more importantly, it was one of the few games that went through their system and is basically a sign of quality on that one. They've already done Cuphead, so it should be Hi-Fi Rush. I think that's probably a given. And the other 2 being probably Killer Instinct and Forza. Forza you have plenty of games of. That's the reason why. But the only downside of Forza is that they said games. They didn't say franchises. They said games. Games that were initially exclusives and games that were more than 1 year old. So that probably means Forza Horizon 5, So it'd be a tough ask if it's a Halo game. Just to say it straight, like, it would be tough if it's Halo, because on the one hand, they've done everything they could with Halo as is, and maybe that's like their reason of making, like, oh, if we have more people part of the esports scene, we can bolster the community, we can expand upon the community, we can get more people hopefully playing Halo. We've got it on PC, we've technically got it on Steam, so we've got it on PC, we've got it on Mac, we've got it on Xbox. Now the only places we haven't gone is on PlayStation. And to be fair, there's a shout for it. There's not a bad shout for it. I don't know if you want to describe it this way, but I don't believe there is a first party shooter that PlayStation has, like, that is reputable for. Probably the Metro series. Resistance would have been one of them way back in the day. But unless I'm mistaken, there isn't like a first party, this is PlayStation's premier shooter, and that would have been Call of Duty. Until Xbox took a lot of the exclusivity away from that with the DLC and how competitions have always been perceived. What Xbox's greatest, in my opinion, skill set wise, is its internet. It's usually its connections. That's what always it's been its biggest positivity coming from Xbox's library. Like whenever you talk about Xbox, if there's one thing that's been consistent, has always been its internet connection. It's live service. So if we're talking about games with that in mind, there's a strong, by that logic, it's like saying, well, Xbox has already got such a good connection. We don't have to like add something new, and they already got, and maybe Halo can work on that. But I probably think it'd be Forza. The only downside why it wouldn't be Forza is because Gran Turismo is considered the bigger of the two, despite the fact that it's not had as many Gran Turismo has not had nearly as many Forza games at this point, because I think Forza has like two different versions of the franchise. They have the sim, and they have like their sort of, I've forgotten what's the other one, what it would be classed as, but like your racing type setup. So to me, right now, I think your four games, if I had to say it of confidence, right? One would be Hi-Fi Rush. Two would be... Oh, Sea of Thieves would make a good one. Because that was one of the rumored games, right? Probably Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves might be a good one to go with. Actually, no. Maybe Sea of Thieves is the one to go with. So I would have thought Forza, Sea of Thieves. So let's say guaranteed a Sea of Thieves. And then the other two is Hi-Fi Rush and probably and Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct. I'd say Killer Instinct was not designed to be in my opinion, a strictly one platform game. I think that could work well as a multi-platform game, and it works for stuff like Evo and infrastructure and building upon that, building side tournaments, accessibility, more people talking about it. Killer Instinct seems like a strong one. I'm just gonna go with Killer Instinct, Hi-Fi Rush, as it's sort of, because it's like its third part, like its most recent first party successful story using Game Pass as a drop system. I think that's good. The fact that it came out on Game Pass and thing, like in retrospect, when a game is good, that's good. Like that's what it should be, and I'm actually happy for it. The top two games though, the community driven games, is gonna be the main ones that we're gonna need to talk about. Sea of Thieves is probably the best one of the two. Especially with like Disney being on multiple platforms, and I'm pretty sure they want to have that as on many platforms as they can. Having that fixed on one is actually maybe a negative, and I think the other one is gonna be a toss up between Forza and Halo. I probably would avoid Gears altogether because Gears is a bit in a shaky spot. Halo is in a more consistent spot, and Forza would be Forza, like honestly speaking, I probably lean towards Forza more than I would lean towards Halo, but definitely Forza. The only reason why I think Halo would probably is that they'll finagle it and say it's the Master Chief collection, but I don't know how I would feel having like if I say, oh, I'm a huge Xbox fan, and then all of a sudden Master Chief's on there. I think an easier pill to swallow might be Forza. So Forza, but then again, don't know. Because we've got to think of four titles. Four titles. It's like four guest characters on PlayStation. Actually, that's probably the best analogy of this. PlayStation is gonna have four guest games. It's like all of a sudden, it's like, so what if Mario decided to come out jump platform? And it's like, do you know what? It could probably do that, and it wouldn't hurt Nintendo. That's the difference. Is that if Mario suddenly ended up on a PlayStation or an Xbox platform, would not be weird. It would actually benefit both sides, because all of a sudden there'll be an influx of new players who never had a chance to play a Mario title. And if it said, right, so for, as guest characters goes, Mario appearing on PlayStation would be weird as heck, but actually would inject so much to either or platform. That is what this sort of thing would provide. an injection of oh wow, I've heard so much about this franchise, that this mascot that I've never been a part of, and now it's on the other platform where it didn't have anything like that. If I looked at it like this, then all of a sudden this sort of makes more sense. If I just treat it as like, these are guest characters, forget calling them exclusivities, call them guest characters, and all of a sudden this works. So by that standpoint, probably wouldn't be Forza. It would probably be Halo. John Master Chief makes it to the other platforms, you know? Makes the jump. But it would probably only go to PlayStation. I highly doubt it would go to Nintendo. It'd probably make some sort of cloud version if it ever did come to Nintendo. But it didn't even specifically say it's going to PlayStation. It just said it's going to other platforms. But yeah, guest characters. Surprising. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to call it there for today. I have been streaming for almost 3.5 hours. I may come back. Not sure yet. But, hang on, movie talk. But I'm going to call it there for today. Thank you, everybody who stuck around for the stream. I really do appreciate the fact that you guys have been around for as long as you guys have had. We're going to go find someone to raid, because I do have an early night tomorrow, so it's one of those situations. Let me go find someone that we can raid. Please do stick around for that. The raid call is Happy Fast Day, as it always is. Let me go find someone to raid. You know what? I don't get to raid her all that often. So I am going to go raid Ember Shadow. She is currently... Yeah, I'm going to go with Ember Shadows. Because I don't get to raid her all that often. Thanks for the stream. You've been on this in the background. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, the basics of this is... We're not going to treat this as reducing exclusivity. We're going to treat this as guest characters coming to another platform. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. The raid call is Happy Fast